everybody. Welcome back to For the Girls. Today, we are so excited to be chatting with Helena Hicks, founder and editor-in-chief of Females in Motorsport. If you haven't already heard about this amazing organization, it's a volunteer-run platform that amplifies the voices and stories of women working and competing all over the motorsport industry. They've reached over 20 million people through all of their content on social media, their website, their blog, and beyond. So we're very excited to be chatting with Helena today.
Wow.
Thanks for jumping on.
I said it would be embarrassing, right?
No, it's just crazy hearing the stats back like that. You write it and it's not something you read out loud. And then when you hear it out loud, it's like, oh, wow. Okay,
Pat on the back.
A lot of people.
Yeah. So congratulations on all of the success so far. So Helena, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, where you're from, how you got into motorsport in the first place. Let's start there.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, guys. It's really different being on the other end of asking the questions. That's for sure. I'm not used to being questioned. I'm used to doing the other way around. So first and foremost, I am a massive Formula One fan, a massive motorsport fan. Growing up, I used to watch all of the sessions that I could, and it was time that I could spend with my dad. And also my granddad is a massive Formula One fan as well. So it was great to be able to spend time with them. And I used to try and work out the abbreviations of the names down the side of the telly screen. And I used to be like, Dad, test me, go on, who's this? And that's how it all started. So I got into it properly, probably about the age of 14. And I very quickly realized that this is what I wanted to do. Because I like writing. I've always loved writing. Wasn't very good at maths at school. I wasn't as strong in science, so writing was the natural path for me to go down. And as I learned more about motorsport and Formula One, I thought, yeah, this is the place where I'd like to work.
So what was the moment that led you to be like, okay, we need females in motorsport or a platform like that? And was there someone in particular that you were trying to reach, like some sort of audience? This is a little bit of a leading question.
Yeah, no, it's fine. So in, I think it was 2016, Susie Wolff launched Dare to Be Different at the Autosport International show. And I knew about her. I knew that she was the first woman to participate in an F1 weekend since 1992. And I thought, wow, she's so cool. This is awesome. She's one of the few female drivers that we have that are making the headlines. And when she launched Dare to Be Different, I went over to the stand and I remember meeting Jenny, who is still part of what is the program today. And I got talking to them, and it was a moment where I realized that women can do this and they are doing this. We just need a little bit of extra support and we need to be showcased. So then I went home and I had a little look for press officers in Formula One and how I could be involved in that area and what women were working at the teams. And it was really difficult to find information. Other than LinkedIn, there weren't many resources. I think there was maybe 2 interviews with Sophie Ogg, who is now director of comms at McLaren Racing. She was at Williams at the time. And so I thought about it for a little while, and it was something I spoke about on my social platforms, on Twitter, because I was obsessed with Twitter at the age of 16, 17.
Yeah, that makes sense. We all love it.
It's prime time back then.
Oh, yeah. I was a massive One Direction fan as well, but we will not talk about that. And yeah, in 2018, I was at university, and everybody else was sort of going to The Guardian and to The Telegraph and to the BBC and doing internships and stuff. But because what I wanted to do was so niche, I thought, why not have a crack at it myself? I need to have a portfolio. I need to be able to show what I'm doing to future employers. So I started Females in Motorsport, and I used to post probably once a week. Sometimes I'd go 3 weeks without posting. But then when we did post, it would get a lot of traction. And yeah, when we'd post, it would be a big conversation point. People would be talking about it. and our followers went up quickly. And as it grew in popularity, I also realized that I couldn't do this alone because thankfully female participation in motorsport has been increasing over the years as well. And yeah, we've gone from 0 to now verging on 175,000 followers across our platforms. And we now have a community of 11 women now that help me run the platform. We're all volunteers, but we're all equally passionate about the same thing, which is women in our industry.
That is so inspiring. We often ask women in motorsport we're interviewing, advice for getting started. So in terms of how you turned the idea of females in motorsport into a reality, how did that happen? You have this reality, you're posting on social media, but like, how does that build into what it is today? And did you have sort of setbacks along the way or surprises?
Yeah, for sure. There have been so many obstacles in the way. I think something to talk about is funding. At the time, I was a student when I set it up, and then I had to buy like the WordPress subscription, and then I had to buy like the different tools. Hootsuite and the scheduling tools, and then the analytics tools, and these are all costs that at the time and I obviously still am prepared to put into it. But as a student at university relying on a bit of freelance work and also working in retail, it was like, okay, this is my passion, and it's just something you're prepared to do. And then when the pandemic hit, I was working in a local supermarket, and I was also delivering people shopping. I was driving a massive like van going around and delivering groceries to people's houses. It was a lot of fun, but I was exhausted because I was working night shifts and also shifts that started at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. and my sleep pattern was all over the place. So yeah, I guess there have been personal setbacks, and the thing that's always got me through it is that I've had an amazing community of women that help me with this platform. I truly have met some of my best friends in life through females in motorsport, and it makes me so proud to see the success that they've gone on to achieve. We've got women that are now at McLaren racing, people that are Alpine Formula One team. Martina, I can give her a shout out because unfortunately she's just had to leave us, but she was a key member of the team for so long, and she now works at Prema, and she's traveling around Europe with them, and it's amazing to meet and know these women. When I did a shoot out in France for my day job, I met Estelle out there who makes a lot of our videos that you see, and we hadn't actually met in person before, but we ended up spending all day together. We watched the World Cup together. She took us to like this little French town on the coast, and we ate crepes. And she also met my director at work, and it was like we'd known each other for years. It wasn't like the first time we'd met. Yeah, it was just amazing. And I know that I've tangented now, but I just got so passionate talking about the people that helped me with this project. And if there's been, tough things in my personal life, because it's never plain sailing. It's not always straightforward. And I've had my own personal struggles too. So the platform gives me a lot of hope, and it also keeps me going in times that perhaps aren't as easy as other times.
So do you feel like it keeps you going, and it's obviously growing a ton, and it's just a beautiful thing to watch, but is there an end goal, like something that you could look back on and be like, okay, if I do that, or when I do that, my job is done here? What's your vision?
That's such a good question. I guess my vision is just to reach as many people as possible. That was always the goal, and it was to make people realize that if they want to work in motorsport, they can, and there's a whole host of roles out there for them. They don't just have to be working in media because they're a woman. They don't have to be shunned into hospitality because there are so many different avenues that they can go down, and you don't have to go to university either. And it's just, I now take the time to read all the emails that we get, because on a daily basis people will reach out to us and say, oh, thank you, you've inspired me to do this, or I just thought I'd let you know that I've actually gone and pursued studying maths at A-level. because I read.
That's so rewarding.
Yeah, it is. So that's one element of it. And then I think the other element of it was went to the 24 hours of Spa with Pirelli. And I
So
was
cool.
fortunate enough to take one of my best friends out there who does a lot of work in Formula E. And we went together, we hopped on a plane. I've never driven on the other side of the road before. And then I had to do a 4-hour drive from Frankfurt to Spa on like 2 hours sleep because I was so excited. But we did the weekend. We filmed content and we published it on our channels. And Pirelli cross-posted it on their channels. And seeing them actually accept a collaboration on Instagram with us. So when you click on their Instagram profile, you know, they've got 750,000 followers. Seeing the video that we made was crazy. We are not video editors. We're not content creators. I can write and I can talk, but this was a whole.
I think sometimes we feel the same way. That's huge that you guys were able to do that.
Yeah, it was a moment where I was so tired and just so fraught with emotion that I just cried. And Emma, the friend that I was with, was like, "You did that, you did that." She's an excellent hype woman, and I couldn't have done it without her, or anybody that's helped females in motorsport out along the way. And I must say a massive thank you to Marta Pirelli for putting her trust in us. And it's a very exciting partnership, and I'm super excited for the next stage that we have to come.
That is so special. And I feel like that's what it's all about, is to be able to share those things with your close friends or with people who have helped you along the way. I think that's some of the joy of just being able to share is so important. So it sounds like the Pirelli experience, the 24 hours of Spa, was a big, big moment. You guys have grown so much. You've done a lot of high profile content. Have there been any other kind of major pinch me moments along the way that you want to highlight?
Yeah, I have to talk about when I went to the Williams factory in, I want to say it was 2018 now, or 2019 it might have been. That's really bad. I can't remember the specific year.
Pre-COVID is all a blur, so
I hadn't long passed my driving test, and I drove all the way from my house in Colchester, Essex, all the way to Grove, Oxfordshire. I was terrified about going on the M25, which is a really big motorway in the UK. It's terrifying. But I drove there, and then I interviewed Claire Williams, the deputy team principal of Williams Racing.
Wow.
One-on-one, sat down with her for a good hour, and she told me the story of Williams, what it was like growing up in the Williams family, and it was incredible to hear about, you know, her trials and tribulations. And it was at a time when Williams were really struggling as well. And I also remember it was just after the triple header in Formula One. Now they're kind of normality, and we've, as hard as they are, we've learned to cope with them. But I believe that this was the first one, and she was exhausted, but she still took the time to speak to me for females in motorsport. And that was a day where I walked out of there and thought, my goodness. And I also got to see Sir Frank Williams, and what a legend that man is. I'm lost for words just reflecting on it, because it was very special. They say don't meet your idols, but I think definitely Claire Williams was a woman that was amazing to meet and hear her stories. So that was amazing, seeing just this little blog that I created at university be entrusted by the Williams Formula One team to actually be able to speak to the woman at the helm of the team. That was incredible.
Yeah, that's a bucket list item, I think, for anyone. That's so exciting. So you started with the blog. You have the blog, and it's amazing, and I personally love reading it. Now you have obviously a bunch of different socials, and you've moved into a podcast. It just sounds like, and you have 11 people running this whole platform with you. So how does it work? Like, how are you guys structured? How do you make it all happen?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I make it happen because of all the amazing women that we have. definitely could not do it without them. I say thankfully, no, I've got to a place now where my job is very easy. I just have to read and respond to emails and check all the content. Whereas before, I was actively writing a lot of it, creating a lot of it, getting sign off and everything. And just with my own role in motorsport is incredible. That's taken me all over the world. But to try and do females in motorsport as a content creator on top of that was just a little bit too much. So now we have people from Europe and America. We've got Manvi, our amazing podcast host. I met her in Miami earlier this year, and again, that was the first time we'd met, and we were sharing a hotel room, and we went to the Miami Grand Prix together.
What better way to get to know someone?
It was amazing. Again, you think, it might be a bit awkward. You don't know each other, but you do know each other because you've gone back and forth with 1,000 messages talking about ideation for podcasts. You've spoken about your dream guests. You've spoken about exciting projects that are up and coming, and that trip was so much of a win for her. She was like, I've got really big FOMO. I'm missing out. And I was meant to fly back from Miami to London. I wasn't actually meant to stay for the race weekend itself because I'd done my day job activation. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to stay. And then I was like, right, that's it. I'm booking a flight. So she came down. So yes, we have Manvi on the podcast, and then it's split between people who tend to do the social posts and then people who just do the writing. I have so much faith and trust in the team, and that they are all amazing humans, and I always send them a little thank you, because they are amazing, and they're all people who ultimately want to end up working in motorsport full time, and I feel it a bit as my duty to give people this opportunity, and to help them grow and learn. So yeah, now my job is a lot easier. As I said, I just kind of approve and maybe make slight amendments or give suggestions. Look at the news and be like, Iron Dame's got this amazing result, or Lisa Millard has got this amazing podium in karting or international results. So that's what I do now, and that's how it's structured with the team.
Yeah, that's great. And what you were saying about, personally loving your team and being able to trust them so much, I think we can definitely relate to a bit. I think Chessa, Sarah, and I are all friends outside the podcast, but I feel like I've gotten to know them so much better through the podcast, to your point of talking about your dream guests. What are our goals? What are our visions? It's a layer deeper than, a lot of the day-to-day stuff, which I think is really special.
Aww.
That's so sweet.
Don't cry over there, Chessa.
I might.
But speaking of, all of these people wanting to work in motorsport, and as you look towards the future, what kind of do the next year or two look like for you, for females in motorsport? What are some of the goals or challenges that you're excited about ahead?
Yeah, the future is very exciting for females in motorsport. I think the one thing that I would love to be able to do is to turn it from a volunteer-run platform into people actually being able to make a living from it. Whether that's how small that is or how big that is, I don't know yet. But I'm a believer in that, yes, work experience is necessary, but there becomes a point where people should be paid for their time that they're giving.
Yeah.
And before COVID, I did used to do that, but then with the cost of living crisis and rent in London going sky high, I don't want to make excuses, but that wasn't just financially possible anymore. And it's something that I continuously feel bad about, because I have seen people used and abused in motorsport. I don't want to name any publications or anything, but I know that there are a lot out there that expect people to almost work full time for them for free. But it's okay because you get great exposure. Doesn't quite cut it. So yeah, it's that is something I would love to do. I would like to pay people for their time and for their services and work, because that's only fair. And second,
it's so important.
Yeah, it is super important, and it's something that I'm very open and honest about, because even myself, I'm a volunteer. That's the situation right now. And the second thing is just continue reaching as many people as possible around the world. And I would also like to work a lot more on the variety of people that we feature. It's a constant education process for myself as well. We had a lot of comments that we were only featuring sort of white, pretty women, or, you know, like model looking women that were in very glamorous roles in motorsport. And that wasn't particularly true. But nevertheless, we looked at that comment and went, right, how can we increase the diversity? How can we show that motorsport is for everybody? It's becoming more open for everybody, and there are multiple initiatives around the world now that are highlighting people from disadvantaged backgrounds, that are highlighting people that, or giving people opportunity that wouldn't have had the opportunity before. So yes, definitely increasing our diversity and the breadth and depth of people featured. That's another thing that I would really like to focus on. So
yeah, that's always so important. And honestly, at this point, it's kind of table stakes. And I think the coolest thing is building a community such that they can call that out for you and you can work together to always be better. I think it's so cool. And I'm happy and like enlivened by the fact that that is where, you know, F1 motorsport, you can tell me more generally, but that's where everything is going. So I think that's great.
Yeah, back when one of the jobs I had, I worked at a London based agency, and one of our clients was Petronas, the title and technical sponsor of the Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula One team. And with that, I got to work with Stephanie Travers, the Petronas.
So cool. She's my dream
guest. She is incredible, and hearing her stories were really eye-opening as well. Because again, it was something that I was so kind of blinkered and just like, oh yeah, being a woman in motorsport, but you never factored that to what about being a black woman in motorsport? You know, what about breaking all of those stereotypes, and as well being an engineer. So she's fantastic. She is incredible, and I was very, very fortunate to hear her story and also get her story told on a global stage as well.
So speaking of getting more people involved and kind of like opening all of those barriers, we always like to finish our interviews with all of our incredible guests by having them give some advice, because we get messages every day, as I'm sure you get 10 times more than we do. Like, how do we get involved? How do we get our foot in the door? Like, where do I start? So you obviously did it from the ground up. It's incredible what you've built. So what advice would you have for anyone listening?
Thank you. That's a really good question. And it's something that I'm terrible at answering. I really ought to be better at answering this, considering, you know, I've dreamed my whole life about working in motorsport, and it's twofold. Yes, I get to professionally now, and also with females in motorsport, it's opened up these amazing opportunities. I like people just showing a passion. I want people to be determined and committed, because motorsport isn't for the faint-hearted. It's not something that you can just kind of come in, think, oh yeah, I'll give it a go, and then come back out again. I think it does require dedication, and it does require commitment. And I hope that there are a lot more companies that take chances in people that have that passion. Because when I was applying for jobs and things, it always, this is great, but you haven't actually got the physical experience. And then the question is, well, how am I meant to get that physical experience if nobody?
I know, it's like
it's a full circle. I think that's really important, is to show your passion and be passionate. I hate the word passionate. Why do I keep saying it?
It's a great word. It's a great word.
Yeah. But it's going above and beyond. You know, it's how can you demonstrate? Yes, you've not worked in Formula One before, but perhaps you can show that at university you were a part of Formula Student, or you went and did an apprenticeship, and in your spare time you set up a blog, or, you know, you went and volunteered at a community centre and you hosted Formula One watch parties. I don't know, something like that you can do to stand out from the crowd. And I hope that in 15, 20 years time, where females in motorsport isn't needed, because it's the norm. I would really
Exactly.
like it to be the norm. You know, this is a sport, one of the very few sports where men and women compete alongside each other. And it's not just the on track stuff, it's also behind the closed doors. Why is there
Yeah.
such a disparity in the numbers of women working at the factory? And and yeah, again, I've can't speak now, tangented. But the advice that I would give is just be passionate, never give up. I hate that as well. And just be able to demonstrate how you are unique and why people should invest in you. Um, yeah, that's terrible. You're gonna have to cut a lot of that out. I'm sorry.
No,
None.
that was perfect. And what an inspiring note to end on. Helena, thank you so much for joining us. This was so incredible to hear about your story and how much Females in Motorsport is doing for the community at large. So appreciate you taking the time and sharing your story.
Thank you. And can I just quickly say that we recently advertised for a couple of positions, and we had over 1,500 emails come into our inbox. And
Wow.
it's
Oh my
taken me
God, I
a
just got chills.
long time to get through all of the responses. And if the people that weren't successful this time around, I would really say please do keep in contact. And if you are interested in being involved, then please do keep on reaching out to not only the page but also myself personally. And also, if you have a question or query, then my DMs are always open. I would love to help out.
There you have
Love
it.
that.
Thank you.